Hey everyone, I'm Dean and welcome to Strange But Real. I've got some great stories for you guys today. I'm even going to share with you my strange experience that I had when I was a kid, and my brother's experience, my friend's experience. We all experienced something, so want to share this with you guys. I'll read that after the first story. I'd appreciate if you subscribe to my channel, hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, grab your coffee, grab your beer, whatever you need to, and let's jump into today's story. All right, so I got some great stories for you today. The first one's kind of short, and then after that one, I'll get into my personal story with you guys and the experience I had that was strange when I was a kid. So let's jump into it. All right, first story. This person said, to clarify, I did not have a phone with me at the time of this story because I was at a summer camp that has a strict no electronics policy, so I could not record any audio or videos of the events I'm about to describe. And even if they did have it with them, they wouldn't have thought, once you hear the story, they wouldn't have thought to record anything at the time. So let's get into this here. I was deep in the back country of the Rocky Mountain National Park while backpacking with a group from the camp. It was a long hike to our first campsite, so everyone was exhausted. I had quite a few friends get on the program with me, so we spaced out in a few tents around the campgrounds. After we ate dinner, we all agreed to take it easy that night and go to sleep. A few hours after everyone had gone to bed, I awoke to heavy footsteps approaching my tent. A moment later, I heard my friend's voice silently call my name. He asked me to go to the bathroom with him. It was a protocol for a camper to bring a buddy to the bathroom at night because in case something happened, but the buddy was supposed to be from your tent. I told him to get someone from his own tent to take him as I was tired and extremely cold. He continued to insist that I went with him, but again I said no. He sounded extremely frustrated, but eventually gave in and left my tent. As I listened to him walk away, the only footsteps I heard were heading into the woods around our campsite. No tent zipper, no whispering about someone else accompanying him to the bathroom, just heavy footsteps slowly walking into the woods. I had an uneasy feeling, but after that, I slowly went back to sleep. In the morning, I asked him if he ended up getting someone else to go to the bathroom with him, but he said he never woke up that night. Throughout the hike to the campsite, I asked his tent mates if they heard him leaving or entering the tent, but they all said they never woke up or heard anything. I asked my friend again if he remembers waking up the night before, but he said he's positive he didn't. After that, my first assumption was that he was sleepwalking, so I asked him if he had any history of doing so, but he said no. After that, I started to think about how odd the interaction between me and him was. His words were a bit slurred, and he kept insisting that I go to the woods with him. To this day, I still wonder about the event, and the only explanation I have thought of that have not scraped is that I was talking that night was not my friend, but possibly a skinwalker. Now, this may sound really strange, and it is really strange, but there have been stories out there that I've heard of people who said that they've been in the woods with another family member or friend or something, and they heard them call their name clear as day, like their grandfather's voice. And people that have even said they've heard their family member's voice call their name clearly in the woods that they've been to that woods with before, like their grandpa or something. And then they heard their voice again call their name clear as day, but either the family member wasn't even out there with them that time, or they were dead, and they had this voice still clearly call their name with that person's voice and talk to them. So there have been reports out there of stuff like this. It's very unusual. Some people say that some of these creatures, these cryptids or whatever you want to call them, have had the ability to mimic voices where they sound exactly like it. There's been people, there's been like little girls I've heard of that have been lost for days, and they were abducted by some hairy creature, and they said that they sounded exactly like their grandma talking to them or calling their name. So very strange that this happened, but that would be a freaky experience if you were out with your friends and You heard one of them talking to you, but they were like, no, I was not even, by your tent at all, man. I was asleep. And, that would be a pretty freaky experience. Now, I'm going to share with you guys the experience I had when I was a kid. So I'll read this message from my brother, because I wanted his side of the story, because he's 5 years older than me. I was younger than him. He thinks he was around 12 or 13 at the time of this, so I would have been probably around 7 or 8 years old. So it's been like 40 years since this happened. So memory's a little bit fuzzy, but I do remember this incident. From when I was a kid. This is one of the incidences that I will never forget, just because of what happened and how terrified my brother was when this happened, and my friends. So here's his side of the story. When we were kids in the 80s, we were all playing guns around our house, and we used to do that like all the time during the summer. Me and my brothers and my buddies, we used to play guns, and it was my younger brother and my older brother, and I'm not going to mention any names or anything, but we would always play the guns. That was the thing we did. We didn't have we were poor. We just say bang, I got you with our finger, and if we saw you, it's kind of like blind man's bluff only, or hide and seek, but because it's dark out. It's like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. It's dark out, so we have to get close enough to actually see you. There are some street lights in front of our house and around, because we live in a neighborhood where there's street lights, so you can see somewhat, and we probably had like the porch light on or something as well, but you have to be pretty close to the person to recognize who it is. So the only way you get knocked out of the game is if the person actually calls your name correctly and says bang, I got you, and then you're out. It's just a game that we used to play back in the 80s. So he says, we're out playing guns. I went to go check between our garage and the neighbor's garage, as they were right next to each other. There was about a 4-foot walkway in between our neighbor's garage and our garage, and it was dark, and you could walk through there, but you couldn't see very well. You could see light from the street from there, but it was pretty dark in between those garages because they were so close together, and we'd always sneak through there. Well, he went in between these garages looking for one of us to shoot for the game. And as I was walking between the garages, I seen something crawling on the ground coming at me. I yelled at each of your names out and said, bang, got you, Dean. That's me. Bang, got you, Wayne. And then bang, got you. He went through all of our friends' names and stuff and called each of us out, and none of us responded. Nobody responded. It was then that I seen it had red glowing eyes, and it kept coming towards him. So he said it kept coming towards me, and so it had red glowing eyes, and it was coming towards him. I was thinking that you guys were playing a prank on me, so I ran towards the house to the driveway, and you were all out in front of the house, and I was freaked out. I told you all what happened, but that wasn't the only time that I would see it. The next time we were all playing guns again, and we were at our friend's house down the street from our house. They were on the dead end of the road next to some woods that we had, and it was probably about 9 or 10 o'clock at night. We came around to the front of the neighbor's house, and there was 6 of us. He said my 2 brothers, that was me and my younger brother, and 3 of our friends and my brother. So there's 6 of us there. And he said I looked around the road towards the back of another friend's house that we knew, and the house was next to a field that we were looking across, and there was that creature with red glowing eyes sitting there in the sandbox digging really fast. So it was doing this in the ground. It was digging really fast in their sandbox. I don't know what it was doing, and he said to the rest of us for us to look at it, and we all saw the creature. All of a sudden it looked straight at us, and we all freaked out and took off running into the neighbor's house because it scared the hell out of us, and it did. We were freaking terrified. It was short, maybe 2 feet in height, but I couldn't tell if it had fur or not because it was dark out. The only light was from the street light, but it was fast, and I'm pretty sure it was the same creature I saw the other night between our garage and the neighbor's garage. None of us ever saw it again, but none of us have ever forgotten about that night either. And then he's got another encounter here that I'll read to you guys in just a second. So, and I remember that we were playing guns down at the dead end of the street. We lived down the road by the main highway, and then just another block down was the dead end. and you got, it's only a block down, and these are pretty small blocks. We live in a small town, so it's only like maybe 10 houses down the road, this dead end. And there's a cross street, and then there's so you've got our street that we live on, and it goes to a dead end, and there's a woods at that dead end. And we were playing guns down there at our friend's house, and in front of my friend's house is a field, and it's an open field, and it goes for like the whole block. But on the edge of that field, there's another neighbor's house, and their backyard is butting up against that field. And this thing was in the sandbox in their backyard by that field, and the field is across from that woods as well. So you've got the cross street, you've got our street, and the neighbor's house is on that cross street. The field's behind their house, and then the woods is behind that field. Well, this thing was in the sandbox on the edge of that field digging, and it looked at us with those red glowing eyes. It was only a couple feet tall, so we don't know if it was what people would refer to as a Chupacabra or what this thing was, but it was far away from us at that point, maybe 50, 75 yards or something. And it was dark out, so you couldn't get a really good look at it, but you could tell just by how it was moving and stuff. It was very strange, and it had the glowing red eyes. I mean, there's no, and I'm not talking eye shine. There's a difference when you shine a light on something and its eyes reflect, and there's a difference when something's eyes are emitting red glowing light. This thing had glowing red eyes, so it was not a reflection. So whatever this thing was, I don't know. Chupacabra possibly. It wasn't like anything real big, but it was still freaky, and the thing was really fast and took off. It scared the hell out of us, and there were 6 of us that saw it, so we weren't all hallucinating. What this thing was, who knows? I mean, there's no telling what this thing was, but I was pretty young, and I do remember that night. I remember how scared my brother was the first time he saw it. I believe he actually yelled for all of us to get to the porch because he was scared. And I think he yelled, "All of you get to the house now, or get to the porch now," because he was terrified. And for my older brother to say that, we knew something wasn't right, because we all played in the dark all the time. We weren't really scared of anything. So he was always out with his friends after dark and doing stuff. So for him to be scared, it scared the heck out of us. But that's our story. And I don't know if any of you guys have seen anything similar. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments section below. But if you've got a story, email me at strangebutrealstories@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you guys in any kind of experience you had. I'm going to read my brother's second encounter here that he had. I wasn't with him when this happened, and I wasn't a witness of this, but my sister was, and my oldest brother. So there was 3 of them that saw this. One day when we were kids, my older sister and brother and I were outside playing in the yard, and we looked up towards the east sky, and we all saw a saucer-like object hovering in the sky, and it was in the middle of the afternoon. And we yelled for our mom to come outside and see what we were seeing, but she wouldn't. You know how parents are. Anyway, we watched it for about 6 minutes, just sitting there. Then all of a sudden it turned and started moving to the right, and then it just sped up straight towards the clouds and disappeared instantly. But no one would believe us, of course, but we know what we saw that day, and I know that I will never forget it. So, this happened to my brother. I remember him talking about it, and my sister talking about it as well. My sister's passed on now, unfortunately. She had some health problems and passed away, I think, about a year ago. So she's not here to tell her side of the story, but I did hear her talk about it to me at one point, and talking with my brother about it. But it's an experience that they had. I've never personally seen any UFOs that I can remember, but definitely all have some kind of strange encounter. But that's my stories for today, guys. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to email your stories in. The links in the description of the video and the pinned comment, so you can go ahead and email those in. I would love to hear from you guys, and we'll see you on the next video.